family. This is not just another sunrise. This is a divine summons. The fact that you opened your eyes today means God still has doors for you to walk through. Doors of opportunity, doors of healing, doors of favor. You see, every morning is more than a moment. It's a meeting. It's heaven's invitation for you to realign your spirit, to reset your priorities, and to reconnect with your purpose. The way you begin your morning determines the direction of your entire day. The first voice you speak to should not be the world, it should be God. Because when heaven hears your voice, earth will respond to your favor. Prayer is not a religious routine, it's a divine strategy. When you pray in the morning, you are setting the temperature for your atmosphere. You are commanding your day, not reacting to it. You are declaring, "This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and walk in his favor." Favor is not luck. It is not coincidence. Favor is the result of alignment. When your priorities, your heart, and your thoughts align with God's purpose, doors begin to open that no man can shut. You cannot walk through new doors with an old mindset. Some of us are praying for new opportunities, but carrying yesterday's disappointments. God says, "Before I open that door, let me renew your mind." Because new doors require new levels of faith. When you start your morning in prayer, you are not begging God for blessings. You are positioning yourself for favor. Prayer doesn't change God. Prayer changes you. It aligns your spirit with the flow of heaven. Listen, every morning is a seed. Whatever you plant in those first few moments will grow throughout your day. Plant peace and you'll walk in peace. Plant gratitude and you'll attract more reasons to be grateful. Plant faith and you'll see favor. You don't need to chase favor. Favor follows those who are in divine alignment. It finds you in the boardroom, in the classroom, in the hospital, in the waiting room. Because God's favor is not seasonal, it's supernatural. So this morning I challenge you, before you check your phone, check in with heaven. Before you speak to people, speak to your Father. Before you face the day, face your destiny in prayer. Because when you start your day with God, He goes before you. And when God goes before you, every closed door becomes an open one. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity. Every challenge becomes a channel for His favor. Declare this: today I walk in divine favor. I am aligned with God's purpose. New doors are opening for me, doors no man can shut. His goodness and mercy follow me, and His favor surrounds me like a shield. Family, the morning is not just a moment in time, it's a movement of faith. So rise up, pray up, speak up, because heaven is waiting for your voice to open the next door of God's favor. Every morning is a divine appointment. It is not an accident that you wake up. It is an intentional act of God's mercy. Each sunrise carries a silent message from heaven, declaring that purpose still lives in you, that destiny is still calling your name. When your eyes open to the light of a new day, it's not merely the result of nature's rhythm. It's a signal that heaven has scheduled another meeting with you. God in His wisdom designed time not just as a cycle, but as an invitation. The morning is that sacred hour when heaven opens its agenda and waits for you to step into it. Before the world begins its noise, before responsibilities demand your energy, before the opinions of others shape your thoughts, God offers a quiet moment of connection. It is the stillness before the storm of the day, the calm before the calls, the silence where divine instruction is whispered to your spirit. Every morning carries a divine purpose uniquely designed for that day. There are people you are meant to meet, words you are meant to speak, ideas you are meant to receive, and opportunities waiting to be unlocked. But the key to all of that begins with recognizing the sacredness of the morning hour. Heaven releases daily updates, and prayer is how you download them. The moment you kneel, whisper, or even silently acknowledge his presence, you enter that divine meeting. The enemy understands the power of mornings, which is why distractions come early. The phone rings, notifications buzz, worries flood your mind before the sun fully rises. But if you can push through the noise and meet God at the beginning of your day, you take authority over everything that tries to control it. The one who meets with God first does not walk through the day reacting, they walk through it ruling. When you treat every morning as a divine appointment, you stop living randomly. You begin to live intentionally. You start your day not as one running to catch up with life, but as one commissioned to fulfill heaven's plan. The presence of God becomes your compass. His favor becomes your fragrance. The morning is not just a time to wake up, it's a time to rise up, to align your spirit, to receive direction, and to walk in divine timing. So each time the sun greets your windows, see it for what it truly is. Heaven's reminder that God still trusts you with another day of purpose. Prayer is not a ritual, it's a strategy. It was never meant to be an empty routine of words or a religious performance. It is a divine tool designed for dominion. Prayer is how heaven authorizes you to manage what happens on earth. It is not simply speaking to God, it is partnering with Him. When you understand this, prayer stops being a duty and becomes a strategy for victory. Rituals are repetitive acts that often lack revelation. Strategies, on the other hand, are purposeful actions driven by understanding. When you pray with revelation, you are not just filling time, you are positioning your life. Prayer becomes your meeting room with the King, where plans are revealed, instructions are given, and strength is renewed. It's in that place that you receive wisdom to face decisions, clarity to confront confusion, and favor to navigate opportunities. Those who treat prayer as ritual go through the motions. Those who treat it as strategy move mountains. Ritual says, I have to pray. Strategy says, I cannot move until I pray. Because prayer is the realm where battles are won before they ever appear in the natural. It is where you secure victory before you even step into the fight. When you understand prayer as strategy, you stop approaching it casually. You realize that every word spoken in faith becomes a seed of transformation. Every declaration aligns your life with heaven's blueprint. Every moment in His presence sharpens your spiritual perception and releases divine intelligence into your circumstances. Prayer is not for religious comfort, it's for divine command. It's how you legislate from the secret place, how you release heaven's agenda into the earth. It's where you download divine strategies for your business, your family, your purpose, and your destiny. When you approach prayer this way, you don't come to God begging. You come as a son or daughter receiving counsel from the King. So stop seeing prayer as something to fit into your schedule. See it as the strategy that builds your future. Before you step into your day, step into the throne room. Because prayer is not just communication, it's preparation. It's the place where divine strategy turns ordinary moments into extraordinary breakthroughs. Favor is not accidental. It does not appear by chance. Nor is it the product of luck or coincidence. Favor is intentional. It is heaven's response to alignment, obedience, and faithfulness. Wherever you see the favor of God operating, you will find a life that has been positioned in purpose. Favor doesn't fall randomly. It flows through divine order. God's favor is a system of reward built into the kingdom. It recognizes those who walk in obedience to divine principles. Favor locates those who have chosen to walk in integrity when compromise seemed easier. It finds the person who continues to sow even when the ground looks dry, who continues to serve even when no one is watching. Favor is not an accident, It is the visible evidence of invisible faithfulness. Many people mistake favor for luck because they only see the outcome, not the obedience that preceded it. They see the open doors, but not the discipline that unlocked them. They see the blessing, but not the battles fought in private. What looks sudden to men is often the result of consistent surrender to God. Favor comes where there is alignment. When your life agrees with heaven's design, doors open that no man can shut. Opportunities appear that you did not plan, and people are drawn to help you in ways you cannot explain. That's not luck. It's divine orchestration. Favor is heaven endorsing your obedience. It's God breathing on your efforts and multiplying your results. You cannot pray for favor and live in disobedience. You cannot expect divine endorsement while rejecting divine instruction. Favor is attracted to order. It is repelled by rebellion. When your heart is right, your steps are guided. When your motives are pure, your path is prepared. Favor is predictable because it follows principles. Those who honor God, walk humbly, and live with a servant's heart will always experience it. When you make God's purpose your priority, He makes your progress His responsibility. So understand this, favor doesn't just happen, it's cultivated through relationship, stewarded through obedience, and sustained through gratitude. When you live with that awareness, you stop waiting for favor to find you. You start living in a way that invites it. Before the world hears your voice, heaven must hear your prayer. The most powerful sound that can ever leave your lips is not what you say to people, but what you say to God before the day begins. The voice that shakes nations, leads families, builds visions, and speaks wisdom must first be forged in the presence of God. Before you speak to men, you must speak to the one who gives words their power. Your public influence is only as strong as your private intercession. What you release in the world is shaped by what you receive in the secret place. When heaven has already heard you, the earth must respond to you. Because authority in the natural comes from intimacy in the spiritual. It is impossible to speak with weight in the world if your voice carries no echo in heaven. When you begin your day in prayer, you are not just starting with religion, you are starting with revelation. You are downloading divine instructions, guidance, and clarity for every decision you will face. The meetings, conversations, and opportunities ahead are all influenced by what you say to God before you ever step out the door. That's why true wisdom doesn't begin with speaking, it begins with listening. In prayer, you hear before you are heard. If you let the world hear your voice before heaven does, you risk reacting instead of ruling. You start operating from emotion instead of revelation. You speak words that sound good, but carry no spiritual authority. But when heaven has already heard your cry, your day becomes ordered, your words carry power, and your steps align with divine timing. The secret of great leaders, prophets, and visionaries has always been this: they let heaven hear them first. Jesus himself would rise early, before dawn, and withdraw to a solitary place to pray. Before he healed the sick, before he taught the crowds, before he confronted storms, he prayed. Because power in public always comes from prayer in private. So before you speak to the day, speak to the one who made it. Before you face people, face your purpose in his presence. Let heaven recognize your voice in the morning so that when you speak later, creation will recognize your authority. The strength of your day begins not in your plans, but in your prayer. You can't walk in new doors with an old mindset. Every new season requires a renewed way of thinking. God can open the door, but if your mind is still trapped in yesterday, you won't have the capacity to step through it. The greatest limitation to divine opportunity is not the absence of favor, it's the presence of old thinking. God can bring you into a new space, but if you carry old patterns, You will recreate old problems in new places. The children of Israel left Egypt, but Egypt didn't immediately leave their minds. They walked out of slavery, but they still thought like slaves. God gave them freedom, but they were still addicted to familiarity. That's what happens when your surroundings change, but your mindset doesn't. You can be free physically, but bound mentally. You can be standing before the promised land and still longing for what you left behind. New doors demand new discernment. When God shifts your season, He also invites you to shift your perspective. You can't carry yesterday's fears into tomorrow's opportunities. You can't bring the language of doubt into a room designed for faith. You can't think small and expect to handle what God has called you to steward. Every promotion requires mental renovation. The mindset that helped you survive the wilderness cannot help you manage the promise. The way you thought in the last season was necessary for that level, but it will limit you in this one. God doesn't just change your environment, He renews your mind so you can perceive what He is doing. Until your thoughts expand, your world cannot. Sometimes God delays new doors not because He's withholding them, but because He's preparing you to think differently. You can't pour new wine into old wineskins. You can't walk into a new dimension with a mindset built for comfort. The transformation of your life begins with the renewal of your mind. So when God begins to open new doors, ask Him to first open your understanding. Let go of the habits, fears, and assumptions that belong to the past. Learn to think according to His promises, not your experiences. Because the moment your mind shifts, your life follows. And when your thoughts align with God's vision, every new door becomes an invitation to greater glory. God's favor flows through divine positioning, not human manipulation. You cannot force what only grace can release. Favor is not something you chase or scheme for. It's something you align yourself to receive. When you are in the place God has assigned, favor will find you. When your heart is positioned correctly, heaven will endorse you without your striving. Human manipulation is born out of insecurity and impatience. It tries to manufacture outcomes instead of trusting God's timing. It pushes doors open that were never meant to be entered and then wonders why there's no peace inside. But divine positioning is different. It is the art of being still in faith while God arranges the details. It is resting in the assurance that what belongs to you cannot miss you when you are aligned with His will. You see, favor is not a product of connections, charm, or control. It is a byproduct of obedience. The right place in the wrong season won't work. The right opportunity without divine timing won't last. But when God positions you, everything begins to flow with ease. People start mentioning your name in rooms you've never entered. Resources begin to appear for visions you've barely spoken about. Doors that were once closed suddenly open, not because you manipulated, but because you were where and who God called you to be. Manipulation may produce quick results, but it cannot sustain them. Divine positioning may take time, but it produces lasting fruit. God doesn't bless confusion or competition. He blesses alignment. And sometimes His favor requires you to step back, to let go, to stop forcing outcomes so He can show you that He doesn't need your manipulation to manifest His plan. Ruth didn't have to promote herself to Boaz. Joseph didn't have to scheme to reach Pharaoh's palace. David didn't need to push Saul off the throne. Each of them stayed faithful in their field and favor found them there. That's divine positioning. Serving faithfully where you are until heaven calls your name to a higher place. When you understand this principle, you stop competing and start resting. You stop trying to impress people and start walking in purpose. Because the same God who positions the sun in the sky and the stars in their constellations knows exactly how to position you for favor. And when He does, no human strategy can take the credit, and no opposition can stand in the way. Every morning is a seed. What you plant in prayer will grow throughout your day. Each sunrise is like the soil of a new beginning. And your words, your worship, your declarations are the seeds that determine the harvest you will see before the sun sets. The atmosphere of your morning becomes the environment of your day. What you speak into the dawn shapes what you experience in the daylight. Prayer is not just communication, it is cultivation. When you wake up and lift your voice to God, you are planting thoughts of faith, peace, and purpose into the ground of time. You are sowing gratitude instead of grumbling, vision instead of worry, hope instead of fear. Every word you pray becomes a spiritual seed that will yield fruit in your emotions, your decisions, and your relationships as the hours unfold. The reason many people feel scattered, frustrated, or empty by midday is because they started their day without sowing anything. The day was given to them, but they didn't plant into it. You cannot expect a harvest of joy if you plant seeds of complaint. You cannot expect peace if you begin your morning in panic. What you plant privately determines what you harvest publicly. When you begin your day in prayer, you are not reacting to life, you are prophesying to it. You are telling your circumstances how to behave before they even appear. You are setting boundaries for your thoughts, commanding your emotions to align with the promises of God, and watering the soil of your destiny with faith-filled words. That's why the early hours are so powerful. They are uncontaminated, uncluttered, and full of potential. Every morning carries two kinds of seeds: the seeds of heaven and the seeds of distraction. Whichever you plant will rule your day. If you choose to plant the seed of worship, your heart will stay tender. If you plant the seed of faith, opportunities will recognize you. If you plant the seed of surrender, favor will rest upon you. God designed each day to respond to your words. Your prayer in the morning is not just a spiritual act, it's a creative act. You are shaping what's ahead with the language of faith. So guard your first words carefully, because they are the blueprint of your day. Plant intentionally, speak purposefully, sow what you want to see grow. Because every morning is not just a moment, it's a seedbed of miracles waiting for your words to water them. The key to new doors is not strength, but surrender. Many people try to force open what only humility can unlock. They push, they strive, they hustle, believing that effort alone will make the way. But in the kingdom of God, advancement doesn't come by human strength. It comes through divine submission. The doors that lead to destiny are not opened by power. They are opened by posture. Surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the moment you stop fighting for control and start flowing under divine control. It is the awareness that your will, no matter how strong, cannot compare to the perfect will of God. Surrender is the doorway where pride dies and grace begins to live. It's the moment you let go of your plan and allow God's plan to take the lead. The world teaches us to fight harder, to prove ourselves, to never let go. But God teaches the opposite. He says, "Be still and know that I am God." When you surrender, you exchange anxiety for peace, confusion for clarity, striving for strategy. You stop trying to be your own provider, your own defender, your own promoter, and you allow heaven to do what only heaven can do. Some doors remain closed, not because God is withholding them, but because we are holding on too tightly. We're holding on to fear, to control, to our own understanding. But when you release what you think you know, God releases what he has already prepared. Surrender is the spiritual key that turns resistance into revelation. Look at Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He didn't conquer by resisting God's plan. He conquered by surrendering to it. Not my will, but yours be done. That one statement opened the door of salvation for all humanity. It wasn't strength that won that battle. It was surrender. When you surrender, you position yourself for supernatural ease. God begins to open doors you stopped knocking on. He begins to send favor where you stopped striving. He begins to lead you into places your own strength could never have taken you. So stop forcing doors open in your own power. Let go of the need to prove, to control, to manipulate outcomes. Lift your hands, lift your heart, and tell God, I trust you. Because the greatest breakthroughs often come not through pushing harder, but through bowing lower. The key to new doors is, and will always be, surrender. When you start your morning with God, you invite His favor to go before you. The first moments of your day are sacred. They set the tone, shape your focus, and direct your path. When you give those first moments to God, you are not losing time, you are investing it. You are placing your day into the hands of the one who already knows what lies ahead. And when God goes before you, no obstacle can stand against you. Morning prayer is more than a habit, it's an act of alignment. It's saying, Lord, before I move, I want you to move. Before I speak, I want you to guide my words. Before I plan, I want you to order my steps. That kind of surrender invites the supernatural into the natural. It opens the way for divine favor to prepare paths you haven't even seen yet. When God's favor goes before you, situations begin to shift in your direction. People who don't even know you are drawn to help you. Doors that once resisted you begin to open easily. The right connections find you, not because you're chasing them, but because heaven is orchestrating them. You begin to notice that what others struggle for seems to flow naturally toward you. Not because you're better, but because you started your day with the blessing before you pursued the blessing. Too many people start their mornings reacting instead of responding. They wake up and rush into the world's noise without pausing to connect with the source of peace. But when you start your morning with God, you walk out carrying His presence. That presence becomes your invisible advantage, your covering, your confidence, your compass. It's what distinguishes you in every room you enter. When the favor of God goes before you, it becomes your silent representative. It speaks for you where you cannot speak. It defends you in rooms you haven't entered yet. It prepares hearts to receive you, opportunities to recognize you, and circumstances to bless you. So before you reach for your phone, reach for His presence. Before you check your messages, check in with your Maker. Begin your morning by acknowledging Him, and you'll discover that He has already gone ahead of you, smoothing the rough places, aligning divine appointments, and covering your day with favor. Because when you start your morning with God, you never walk alone. His favor walks before you, making crooked paths straight and impossible things possible. Prayer activates divine relationships, opportunities, and ideas waiting in your path. Nothing in the kingdom happens by accident. Everything is set in motion by divine alignment. When you pray, you are not just speaking into the air, you are unlocking doors that have been waiting for your obedience. There are people God has assigned to your destiny, opportunities designed for your growth, and ideas hidden inside your spirit. But they all awaken when you pray. Prayer doesn't just prepare you for what's coming. It prepares what's coming for you. It sends signals into the spiritual realm, activating divine connections and orchestrating moments of favor. When you pray, God begins to move hearts, rearrange schedules, and position people who carry the next piece of your assignment. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in your life are already in motion, but they're waiting for the sound of your faith to release them. Prayer is the bridge between heaven's intention and earth's manifestation. It's how you partner with God to bring unseen possibilities into visible reality. You may not see it immediately, but every time you pray, something shifts. A door is being prepared. A name is being mentioned. A thought is being planted in someone's mind who will one day call you, recommend you, or bless you. Prayer connects you to divine timing. The relationships God ordains are never random. They are purpose-driven partnerships, people assigned to sharpen your vision, challenge your faith, and open doors you couldn't open on your own. But prayer is what tunes your spirit to recognize them. Without prayer, divine connections can pass by unnoticed because your heart isn't aligned to perceive them. The same is true for opportunities. They don't just appear, they are revealed. Prayer clears the fog of distraction so you can see what was there all along. It gives you discernment to know which doors to walk through and which ones to leave closed. It prevents you from chasing good things. And then there are ideas, divine downloads that carry your next level of influence, creativity, or provision. Many of the world's greatest ideas were conceived not in chaos, but in communion. When you pray, you access the mind of God. You begin to think beyond limitations, to dream beyond what's possible, to create solutions that carry eternal impact. So never underestimate the power of prayer. Every time you kneel, heaven starts moving. People are being positioned, resources are being released, and ideas are being ignited. Prayer doesn't just change your mood, it changes your momentum. It activates everything heaven has prepared for your path. Favor is proof that you are walking in divine purpose. It is heaven's confirmation that you are in alignment with God's plan for your life. When you walk in purpose, favor follows you, not because you are perfect, but because you are positioned. Favor is not random. It is a divine signal that you are exactly where God wants you to be, doing exactly what He called you to do. Every time you move according to divine purpose, heaven responds with assistance. God begins to surround you with people, resources, and opportunities that propel you forward. Favor becomes the evidence that your steps are ordered. It's the invisible endorsement of God on your visible actions. You don't have to announce yourself. Favor announces you. You don't have to fight for attention. Favor draws it. When you are out of alignment with purpose, you will find yourself striving, forcing doors open, chasing recognition, exhausting yourself, trying to make things work. But when you are walking in purpose, doors open naturally. Provision meets you before the need arises. The right people come at the right time. That's not coincidence. That's divine confirmation. Favor is not always flashy. Sometimes it's quiet protection. Sometimes it's unseen guidance. It's the opportunity that came when you least expected it. The connection that showed up just in time. The peace you felt in the middle of pressure. Favor shows up in different forms, but its message is always the same. You are in the flow of God's will. The secret is to pursue purpose, not favor. Favor is never the goal, it's the byproduct. When you chase purpose, favor chases you. When you make God's assignment your priority, He makes provision His responsibility. That's why Jesus said, "Seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added to you." Favor is the added. It's heaven's way of rewarding alignment. And here's the beauty of divine favor. It's not dependent on your background, qualifications, or status. It flows wherever purpose flows. It doesn't check your resume, it checks your obedience. If your heart is right and your steps are led by God, His favor will locate you even in places where you are overlooked. So don't measure your life by the applause of men, but by the evidence of favor. When things begin to fall into place without your forcing them, when doors open without manipulation, when peace remains even in uncertainty, that's favor speaking. That's God whispering, "Stay the course." You're walking in divine purpose. Each new day is not just another chance, it's another chapter of destiny. Every sunrise is heaven's way of saying, "I'm not finished with you yet." When God allows you to wake up, He's turning the page on yesterday and handing you a fresh sheet of purpose. You are not simply reliving time, you are writing eternity, Every breath, every decision, every moment is part of a divine story that God himself is authoring through your life. Destiny doesn't unfold all at once. It's revealed one day at a time. That's why every morning matters. Each day carries a divine assignment, a unique opportunity to move one step closer to the fullness of who God created you to be. What may feel like an ordinary morning in your eyes is often a divine appointment in God's calendar. The people you meet, the choices you make, the words you speak, all of it becomes ink on the pages of your destiny. When you understand this truth, you stop treating days casually. You begin to live with awareness, with gratitude, with focus. You realize that time is not just something to pass, it's something to purpose. Every sunrise brings new mercy, new instructions, and new opportunities for obedience. Yesterday's mistakes do not disqualify you. They become lessons that refine your next chapter. God never wastes a day, and he never wastes a life that's surrendered to him. Some people live as if every day is a repeat, but those who walk with vision see every day as a revelation. What you do today echoes in eternity. The choices you make this morning may unlock blessings years from now. That's why the present moment is so powerful. It's the bridge between promise and fulfillment. Each new day is an invitation to co-author your future with God. He holds the pen, but he lets you choose the words of obedience, faith, and gratitude that fill the page. And even when you make mistakes, grace is the eraser that keeps the story going. So don't wake up thinking it's just another day. Wake up knowing this is another chapter of destiny, a new page where faith can rise again, where vision can be reignited, where favor can flow in fresh ways, because as long as you have breath, your story is still being written, and God is still turning the pages toward purpose, promise, and glory. My friend, as we bring this message to a close, remember this. Every morning is heaven's invitation to partnership. God is not calling you to survive your days. He's calling you to shape them. When you rise in prayer, you don't just enter another day. You enter another level of divine favor, another opportunity for purpose, another moment of destiny. Your mornings are not ordinary. They are sacred appointments. What you pray becomes what you live. What you declare becomes what you see. Each time you meet God at the dawn, you give him permission to go before you, to order your steps, to open doors no man can shut. So wake up with intention, rise with gratitude, pray with expectation. Because when heaven hears your voice, earth has no choice but to respond to your favor. Let your mornings become the birthplace of miracles, the altar where dreams are rekindled, and the gateway where purpose meets possibility. And as you walk through your day, remember this truth. You don't carry the day maker carries you. His favor surrounds you, his peace guides you, and his hand leads you from glory to glory. Thank you for sharing this moment of faith and revelation. May every sunrise remind you that you are chosen, favored, and positioned for something greater. Go forth in strength, walk in purpose, and expect new doors of God's favor to open before you. God bless you, and thank you for listening.